this, Life Force is an association of like-minded people dedicated to changing the world. And there are people from all over the world who join us here today. And the idea is that we are finding new ways and innovative ways to restore the planet and all the beauty that is here. And soon you'll be hearing about the Global Peace and Restoration Consortium, as well as the People's Government Service Department and the Global Health and Wellness Consortium, and all of these different ways that we extend out. So today we are going to spend a lot of time catching up with Mrs. Kimberly Ann Goguen, who is the interim head of state, as well as ground commander and the guardian of the planet. And she is also affectionately referred to by us as Kim Possible. So with that in mind, Mrs. Possible, how are you today?
I'm great.
Okay, 1 second. I'm looking for you to pull you up on the screen. There you are. There we go. Uh-oh, whiteboard's out. Everybody knows what that means. Okay.
Yeah, got something to say.
So where do you want to start? We're going to go through, you want to start with the Archons?
We can just start with quickly. So this week was kind of crazy, right? Things that affect everybody. So we had the harvest moon on Monday, and then, oh, he spotlighted me by myself. Oh no. So we had the harvest moon on Monday, which brought us a number of different things, both kind of spiritually and etherically and energy wise, and then practical wise, which really didn't work out for these guys. But then we had the equinox as well on Wednesday. So one thing we noticed was that energies were all over the place. And this led us to a very, very important discovery this week, not only with myself, but also with the health and wellness team and those that have worked with us with the biofeedback machines. And then we figured out a way to connect that machine to the system that I work with, and we came up with some solutions. So this was really great. So I wanted to kind of talk about what is an archon. We've seen archons come up over and over. People call them an alien race. They call them a number of different things. They call it a parasitic infection. But what is it truly? Okay. I was going to write this down for you, but my handwriting's terrible. So an archon, right, is actually an acronym. Okay. And this is important to understand because it will also explain to us what COVID is and why we're going through all these crazy things right now, because they had to do something. So I'll break it down for you. So what an archon is, it's essentially a parasite. Now, I want to stress this. Parasites do not exist in the normal cycle of life. They were implanted here. There's no parasite on planet Earth that existed here in nature, okay? They are predominantly a synthetic organism that was planted here a long, long time ago. But what actually is it? Okay, so people think of tapeworms, they think of roundworms, they think of these things, but what people don't understand is that there is no such thing as a virus, okay? Viruses do exist, but they are not something that we are going to catch and be sick. So it's all caused by a parasite. And we'll get into this a little bit further. So what ARCHONS actually stands for is architecture. Okay. And for cooperative. I wrote this down because it's very long. Heterogeneous. Online systems. Okay. So this actually is not of here. This is what you would call alien technology. It's an AI system, essentially. This is important to us right now, so that's why I'm taking the time to kind of break it down for you. Okay, so it is an AI system that would be considered malevolent, that came from a malevolent place, If you know who the Chimera are, you'll find out. You can Google that and see if you can find something about it. But they are a very dark race that have been influencing this planet for a long time. On the dark side, it would be considered like the sister Earth. So that's the reason why these alignments are so important to these people. This is also the reason why people say there's more births on the full moon. There's people go crazy on the full moon, right? Or why they wait till there's an alignment with something or other to make this happen. Why the winter solstice on the 21st is always talked about a lot. We were all going to die a few years back, remember? So what would happen in the past, okay, is these AI parasites would actually essentially come through what before 2019 was the dark central sun, which was the portal from the dark side of the multiverse. They would come in through the center, and then that was our direct alignment with the planet Earth, right? To the central sun during the 21st, during the solstice. Okay, so every year we would get a new infestation of these parasites because the shelf life of said parasites only lasts between 2 and 4 years. And this is all parasites. For example, these are the parasites that are responsible for cancer. They are responsible for the herpes virus, shingles. I mean, you name it, that's coming from this parasite in your person. Now, it's was controlled until last night by an outside source, right? Predominantly, I would say mostly. However, there was some odd, maybe 30 something percent human involvement in this, okay? So connective systems, who were they? Well, we had the secret space program that had a connection. We had DARPA that had a connection. We had HARP that had a connection. All of these systems were connected to what we would call, you know, you see people reporting about Pandora's box operation and process. Well, these black goo boxes, so to speak, that exist in places like Canada, or it existed, I should say, in places like Canada and the United States and Russia. There was another one under Khrushchev. They put that in there. And so they were all part of a control system for the parasite, which is synthetic, known as the Architecture for Cooperative Heterogenes or Heterogenesis or Heterogenes online systems, okay? So we are worried right now about mRNA, we're worried about vaccines, we talk about all this stuff, but where is it all coming from and where is it all going? Okay, so let's get to that part. So in 2018, okay, we did get hit with another blast of ARCHONS, like we do every year around the 21st of December. That's when the alignment happens. However, by 2019, that central sun was no longer a portal to the dark side. It was actually replaced with our creator energy. And in 2019, I talked about the fact that we had our first star born in the multiverse right around Christmas time in 2019. Okay, so that means the creator is now creating again in the universe, and we're not ever shrinking, going down in a toilet bowl to the dark side is where we were going. So ARCHONS, now there was no influx of this since 2018. So what do they do now? Okay, they need this to have somewhat of a control over the disease systems of planet Earth. And that's not just people either. This is animals, plants, you know, all kinds. I mean, think about all of the things that parasites infect. Our air, our water, our environment. So now what do you do? Well, we invent, or we didn't invent, they invented the certificate of vaccine identification. Also known as COVID. Okay, So we think about this, well, we don't want to get the vaccine, right? Because if we get the vaccine, then we'll get this certificate of vaccine identification, which then puts us in a system. But we don't understand really how they're doing it. Okay, so everybody online talks about graphene oxide. Graphene oxide, it's on the test, it's in the masks, it's in all these, but it's not graphene oxide. And I have confirmed this with a scientist who's, you know, quite elderly now, that used to work with Project Bluebeam. Okay, he's a Russian scientist when the Russians and the Americans had a cooperative effort in the space program, which they always have, but then they faked the Cold War and then they didn't, right? But this had been still continuing on, this cooperation, for years. So they know that all of the secret space program stations around the world, they've all had access to the ARCHONS. Okay. They did have some communication to the mainframe of the ARCHONS until last night, which means this is how they, you know, they talk about, well, we implanted something in the, you know, high level generals or the Illuminati or the order's head, and we can set it off at any time, you know, the cancer situation, the actual COVID situation even, right? So this is an actual artificial parasite that is not natural to this planet. Parasites in general fit nowhere in the cycle of life. Bacteria makes sense because things decay, right? They're broken down, and then new life comes from that decay. Like if a plant dies, it decays, you know, fertilizes the soil, and then we get more plants, right? That makes sense. And then there are also some harmful bacteria that were changed. So I talked before, and I'll explain it again. So Langley has a whole program, right? We talked about the Bush Ranch in Paraguay. We talked about the programs that go on underneath Langley, right? The CIA. Those are all Black Sun run programs. I talked about maybe watching the movie 0 Hour and the last season of a television show called Alias, because they talk about these types of programs, okay? So what did these people do? People think that they released the coronavirus. Okay, well, kind of, sort of. All they did was trigger the parasite that was already in your person. That's how it was done in 2018, okay? So, or 2019, whatever it was, right? So that being said, the severity of the virus is dependent on the targets of these programs from these laboratories that are in certain locations in the world. So if they're targeting the elderly, or they're targeting heavy people or obese people or unwell people, you know, they can just hit it with a switch and hit that extra COVID button. So it's interesting. The interesting part about this is that we also found the mainframe this week. We shut down the mainframe where it actually was. We stopped the communication from that mainframe. And then today we took down what's called the energy grid associated with the ARCHONS. This energy grid went about 20 miles below ground and 20 miles above ground, which basically covered everything. So now we know why, you know, their underground bases were so far underground, why they had places to go, because they weren't infected and they weren't affected by this AI parasite. So that was a huge win for us and the global health and wellness team this week. Thank you.
Okay. So can we break that down just one more time? So the ARCHONS, this is the architecture for heterogeneous online systems. And this is the system that is running through everything, connects to everything.
Organic and inorganic. Now, one thing we found very interesting is that these parasites also affect computer systems. Okay, it's not just for people, and it's not just for the planet, and it's not just for plants, and it's not just for animals. This also infected computer systems. It infected a lot of different things. They could trigger anything at any time, although the humans only had a small amount, I would say, of control of what they could and could not do. But that's where they call them toplet bombs or whatever they put in the, people's heads. They said they can switch them off. If you're part of what they call the video game, we're living in a matrix, kind of true. So
this is like implanted in everything. So getting rid of these, really, this could be potentially why they were so cocky, that they thought they still had control of the archons or had that advantage. And this energy, this is something that's energetic, it's fourth dimensional, it's physical.
Etherical. Yep, it's etherical, and it also affects the plasma level of matter as well. It can also affect your emotional level with your pituitary gland. It can do a lot of different things to your system to make you think things that aren't yours, to make you feel things that are not yours. If you get to what they call high, right? If you're meditating and you're really connecting with source and you're happy and you're going about your day just great and everything's going great for you, you ever get whacked in the stomach? All of a sudden your stomach starts to feel sick, or you feel a really bad pain right here. Well, there's an amoeba attached to the archons that actually affects your solar plexus to cut off that energy going from your heart center to your brain and making that connection between the two. This is what they do. They act the grid that we talked about, right? That went below and above ground, connected to the archons, actually could affect your spiritual and your mental well-being by just flipping a switch. It was designed to detect you. When you got too high, you got too well, you were doing too good, your happiness. This can affect you in relationships with people. If they can't affect you directly, right? Maybe you recognize, hey, this isn't my feeling, this isn't my thought, right? And you take a step back, then they'll start affecting the people around you, your spouse, your children, people that are not as aware of you as you were. So this thing was an amazing discovery for us. It also was in the banking system all over the place. Anything the black screen was tied to, telecommunications systems, they could have got into anything using their limited access of archons. That's the deep state, right? But the other side that was actually controlling it could have done a lot worse, right? So by 2018, we had our last archon infection. The average shelf life of an actual parasite of this nature is between 2 to 4 years before its operating system starts to break down. So now what do? Nothing came in 2018. Nothing came in 2019, right? Well, we just try to do it ourselves because we're so smart, right? I'm talking about the cabal, the deep state, right? So now we've got it in the masks, we've got it, right? So it's not just graphene oxide. It's got zirconium in there. It's got moscovium in there. It's not an archon by any stretch of the imagination of the original form. However, that's what they were trying to tie directly to the Azure system. Okay.
So
now
those two elements you just mentioned, that's kind of a big deal. The moscovium is an element that's not even listed on the periodic table, and
it's one correct? Of the it's element 235.
Element 235, and the other one was what again?
Zirconium.
Zirconium. Okay, now so
there's other stuff in there. I'm not going to go into it into detail because I'm not helping these people in any way on the live channel, so it's not going to happen. But I'll just say it's a compilation of things that would make up a synthetic metallic parasite. Now, these parasites were actually silica something else. I'll just give it to you that way. They're not the same. They're not even close to the same, which is why everybody's getting really, really sick from vaccines, or getting sick from even wearing masks, or getting sick from, taking the test. They come down with COVID later. All of this has to do with, these are simple things to get rid of. This is a heavy metal detox, right? You got to get the metals out of your body. But on the other side of it, this was a lot more difficult. And we've got a lot of people watching us right now from many places. We are like an arena, and you have the entire planet is surrounded with people that are watching this transition happen because it's so important. So they've been here for about a week now. It's kind of incredible. We made sure that no one could interfere. We did have some interference from what they call humans of the future, or the Abraxas, which are not nice people. They are humans. They're not nice. They're very elitist attitude. We've talked about them before. So we've made sure that that they can't interfere in any way. But now we found this. So that's momentous. The grid is down. That doesn't exist anymore. The human connection to anything is also down as of today. So now it's just a matter of disinfecting the planet. But the interesting thing is that these actual synthetic parasites will die from the most interesting thing, love.
Ha.
It's a love frequency. They will wriggle, wriggle, wriggle and die.
Wow.
So I know they can't sustain it, which is why when your energy gets too high and they're in your person, right? It actually they can't stand it. So it triggers a survival mechanism, which notifies the grid, which notifies the mainframe, and then they give you something. You get a cold, you get sick, you have a stomach ache, you feel depression, you feel things that are not your things, right? Like, but you're like, why am I sad? I'm not sad. Like,
Right.
you know, I'm doing great. You know, my job is great. My spouse is great. My children are great. I'm great. But I'm sad. And you don't understand where the sad's coming from. Well, that's where it's coming from.
It's too good to be true virus, right? It's like things start to go your way. And you're like, oh, just wait for the other shoe to drop, right? That whole energy wrapped around that. And things are good. We have a hard time maintaining the frequency of just being happy. That's really fascinating.
Yep. So it's a very interesting discovery this week. And all we are left with now is the disinfection or the anti-agent, which we have, and we will get that taken care of over the next couple of days. So hopefully none of us, including our animals and our plants, should be infected or be affected by parasites any longer. That doesn't mean we won't have bacteria and we won't have some other things, but our overall wellness should improve, hopefully in the very near future. Also, we won't be at the whims of some weirdo guy operating HARP who decides that it's a great idea to give you an infection of some sort, right?
Right.
So this program is now pretty much all but over. There's no control. So are they going to continue to try to vaccinate us or try to put these fake ARCHONS in us or whatever, these very antiquated version of I don't know, not even close to what we originally had coming at us every single year with a reinfection? No, not even close. Could they actually recreate this? No, not without help. And nobody's helping at this point in time. And matter of fact, the people that were running this section of this mainframe are now, the whole planet's gone. So it's over.
So that's in a different place of just that you refer to sometimes as the nothing, right?
I call it the nothing.
Pure darkness dwells, and this is where they were stemming from, and this still had some connection to the ARCHONS, and that had to be eliminated. So it's no longer a threat.
Correct.
And then, okay, so now with all of these different things that are being removed, being able to not just accelerate, make progress, where they normally would have gotten to us to a certain level, and they would have just stolen it from us, basically, right? Things are going great, and then they all collapse. Now we're really on a steady acceleration upwards for the most part. I mean, we can be at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's possible for the first time, maybe at least in our lifetimes.
Right. The other thing that they don't like a lot is when two people who really love each other are intimate. So that means you have so much love going on, right? And your toroidal fields are combined. They can't stand it. They absolutely cannot stand it, right? Because that's like an amplified form of love. So if they can't stop us from doing such an act, they need to pervert it. That's why it's perverted all over the place, right?
That's right.
So yeah. So there's a lot of
making love, creates life. That's a fact, right? That's
right. You know, and, you know, you obviously, you know, I've had people say, well, you've, you know, to people that, you know, wow, she's got the glow today, you know, and we all know what happened last night and so on. But I mean, you even look different, you know?
sure.
But it doesn't come from like a perverted version of this. This comes from an actual love relationship. So it's very, very interesting. This was momentous for us going forward. We also found it in the, like I said, in the banking system. We found it in military systems. We found it everywhere. We found it in intelligence systems. So now, you know, the people running the program under Langley, and we know who you are now not having the capability of creating depopulation programs with the stroke of a keyboard. So that changes everything for us, right? People are talking about, you know, canisters and spray cans and this and that, you know, this is what it was really about. And this is what was really behind it. How do we control all of humanity when that system is no longer valid? Because they knew in just a couple of years' time, that was it. They couldn't do it anymore. So they wanted to create something of their own. There's where the COVID identification of vaccine certificate of vaccination identification came in.
So the Azure system and the certificate of vaccine identification in the COVID system was really to replace the control mechanism they had in place with the ARCHON system.
Yep.
So the
because they knew if it stopped coming, right, within 2 to 4 years, there would be no more parasitic infections.
That's amazing. Now, the other thing you said is that there's no parasites that occur in nature naturally. They're just devouring us, you know, even viruses, and most are all diseases.
They're all parasites. All viruses
are really parasites. Now, I can definitely confirm that. I've talked to scientists about that with who look at cancer that way, and they say it's really just, you know, it's a parasite. It's consuming everything around it long after it's supposed to die, and just keeps until it just causes a problem in the body. Wow, that's amazing.
Yep. So there you have it. So there's the origin of all parasites existing on planet Earth, including the COVID, whatever you want to call that. So
and also AIDS, Kim, does that include AIDS?
That includes AIDS, that includes everything. Yep, all autoimmune disorders, everything falls under a parasitic category. Thank you, Head of Global Health and Wellness.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for all the work you've done this week on this with my team. It's been awesome.
Yeah. All right. So that is, you know, let that sink in. If you need more clarification, you know, hit us up on the question and answer thread and we'll answer for you. So we'll be working on disinfecting all weekend. Lisa, I'm sorry. I'm glad you don't have any plans. If you did before, you don't now. So
yeah,
that's
right. Yeah, I'm in.
Right. Okay. So next, what happened in the world of things, right? Because Harvest Moon's a big time for the deep state. They have their annual ceremonies and they do all of these things, you know, that we don't like, involving children and virgins and whatnot. And so this week, what they call the Chair of Destiny, okay, also closely related to the Stone of Destiny of Scotland, right, which kept going missing. So this is a very gaudy looking chair with a compilation of a bunch of different metals that has these little keys you slide in, and then you sit in the chair, and then you're, I don't know, become the Pindar, right? That's all I know. So perhaps a walk-in or something like that. So you become the Pindar, right? And when you sit in the Chair of Destiny. So Obama did this, Putin did this, Hillary Clinton did this. Over the last several years, a gentleman by the name of General John von Wright did this. They all sat in the chair and they expected something to happen that didn't happen. Essentially, they think from their level, they think that this makes them control the back system, right? The one that I work with. So, and control the monetary system, all the money's coming out. So we've heard stories about Trump promising lots of things to lots of people. He's going to be back in office by October 4th, right? He's going to be paying out money last week on the 6th, and now it was this week, right? So if you watch the RB websites, the money always comes at the exact same time, you know, new moon, full moon, so on and so forth, right? So everybody was expecting money this week. So bigger than that this week is that normally the contractors, such as generals, agency guys, and whatnot, would get their contracts the day after the harvest moon. Okay, so they were waiting in various places around the world, and not just the United States people, I'm talking about everyone, for their contracts on Tuesday to come from Trump. Now, why Trump? Okay. The chair of destiny was moved to Mar-a-Lago, where Trump also was this week, to which he was supposed to sit in at precisely the moment of the full moon on the harvest moon. And then he would have control over the system that I control. So he sat in the chair, went over and tried the terminal that he took from the White House. Nothing happened. Sat in the chair. Nothing happened. Sat in the chair, went back to the terminal, nothing happened. So he called the people that gave him the chair. And they said, well, sorry, I guess you're just not the one. Click.
Oh, so it's official now. Okay, so Trump is sat in the Blarney Stone leprechaun chair of destiny that's supposed to make it so he can, you know, bring forth all the lucky charms that are magical, and he's going to do all this great stuff. Now, so that did not happen. Just for the record, for the whole deep state, just so you know, the Destiny chair magic has been disconnected for a while, right? Isn't this like the 7th time that they've tried this? With
Yes.
Obama, Hillary, who's the other guy? Cheney. Didn't Cheney try it once?
No, he didn't get that far. They
he
didn't
didn't
elect
get close,
anybody that
yeah.
year. That was 2019, yeah. He thought he was going to be it when he was still alive. But, you know, they keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. But the problem here is that what he's doing is he's promising all these people that it's going to happen tomorrow without first checking to see if the chair actually works. Wouldn't you check? If you were promising a whole bunch of assassins, right? Highly trained, what I call retired, extremely dangerous people. And on top of that, half of the words military generals, that you were going to pay them out or give them contracts the following day. I would have not said a gosh darn word until I found out. I would have checked.
Are you sure? Because I feel like this has
yeah.
happened many times, and these guys have done nothing except wait more. So unless you're afraid of waiting, maybe that's what Trump was thinking. It's like, well, I'll just tell them another lie, and they'll continue to wait. Because that's basically what they've been doing, right?
Well,
I mean,
that's
truth be
what
told-
they were doing, but it's backfired badly. This will be the 3rd year in a row with no contracts going out to anybody and a whole heap of promises for 3 years straight, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. What's happening now is these people are actually starting to realize he can't do it. This includes tight-knit generals such as General Flynn and some others that are really close on the Trump train, and they're all starting to turn their back on him. Now, part of this has to do with a 50-50 offer that happens to be getting around all over the world. We have the Chinese that want to do it. We have some of the, what do you call, retired, extremely dangerous people that want to participate. We have a bunch of military people. I would say in total of the people that were involved with from a military and agency level, I would say that we have about 90% right now.
90? We're up to 90%?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'd say the only one we probably don't have that high of a number from is the CIA. But we may have that tomorrow now that their ARCHON grid went down. So, well, we could have more cooperation in the very near future. However, that's about the only one that's kind of holding out. Like they're all over the place. They're divided into compartments. Nobody knows what anybody else is doing. They do have a little phone tree going on. Everybody's calling their contacts in all these different places to see if we can make this work. Because remember, if our funds are blocked in any way, you lose yours.
Right. So wait, so this is really now, so the removal of the ARCHONS could
Mhm.
potentially help people kind of, even on this level, reconnect to logic, right? Where they're not so dominated by fear, right? Because, I mean, that would seem very practical in a sense, right? If these archons were constantly influencing behavior,
Right.
causing sickness, and they had this massive level of control, and on them, I would imagine they have even more control, right? They probably have more of an influence. So
Oh,
that's an
well,
incredible breakthrough. I mean,
how
all of
much
these things together.
does Langley want? Do they want to control all their people around the world? How much do the military want to control all their people? You know, probably to a great degree, I would venture to guess. But that system, you know, as of, I mean, literally, we just finished the dismantling of the system and started the disinfecting 2 hours ago. I mean, this is something that's been going on all night long. So it's not
Wow.
like, yeah. So that's a positive for us. So we'll see if, you know, now that they're not being infected and affected by people. Remember I told you before that sometimes I talk to these people and they would change their mind, you know, like, and that, like I have this whole conversation about, doesn't matter, baking blueberry muffins, right? I give them the whole recipe and whatever. And at the end of the conversation, they're like, so what's a blueberry muffin again? I'm like, huh? You know, and they just go round and round and round. Well, I'm thinking maybe that had something to do with this. It's very possible. So let's talk more about Trump. So about Trump, he does not want to take the 50-50 offer. He said that he cannot be truthful because part of his was that he would have to admit I was behind him the whole time. Okay. Or at least towards the end. So he could not be truthful and risk the 2024 election. Okay, and this came from a very close family member. Won't say who that
Wow.
is. So yes, and so he didn't want to do it. He said he's going to keep with his program, whatever the program is, the plan, whatever program he's running. Okay, fine, no problem. However, if we don't fix this soon, we're not going to have a country in 2024, you idiot. You know, I mean, come on.
You know,
I mean, the
I do have an
economy's
offer.
tanking.
I did write a very compelling speech that Trump, you know, your PR people are obviously terrible. I can help you actually be a good person and give you exactly what to say that you look like a rock star. And if you just do the right thing, you know, we don't mind if you take that office of president. That's great. Just do the right thing. But, you know, you can't let us get devoured and continue on this path. You know,
We have, you know, our health and wellness group has cures for cancer. We could help you. We can help you in so many different ways. So do your people have the cure for cancer. You wouldn't have cancer, right? Cancer is a parasite, just so you know. Don't think it's anything different, right? It just causes cellular regeneration through your mRNA. I mean, all of the stuff that you guys talk about is very close to true, with the exception of we just figured out where it was from. So anyway, you know, irrelevant to us. We're moving on. We're moving forward. I know there's a lot of people out there that want him back in office, and that's fine. Whether he gets in there or doesn't get in there, who cares, right? It's not our business. We're still moving on. We have our assemblies going great. We have Micronesia that came on board. Kelly was telling me about a number of different groups that have come on board. Everybody is working together. Everything is going lovely. We can form our own, you know, actual true governance by the people, you know, for the people, with the people, and just keep it going, right?
Philippines
So
pulled together 110 tribes, and they had like 50
Philippines.
people come on a call the other day. So that's great.
Yeah.
That's great for everybody. I mean, we have a lot of people who watch what we do in the Philippines. So I'm very excited about that. So
me too. Me too. Okay, so let's see, moving on to other things that happen. Okay, so this non-payment and non-giving of contracts also sparked something interesting. And Kelly, I didn't even have a chance to tell you about this because it happened this morning. The Bureau of Reclamation, which is agency people, they're all agency contractors from the CIA, we know this, right? Have decided to turn maybe the other cheek or a blind eye to the fact that the canals aren't open.
Interesting.
Stop messing around with the waterways. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was just this morning.
fantastic.
Yeah. Also, apparently the House or Senate or House and Senate passed, or some of them passed the budget this week. Fiscal year end is on September 30th. No money. The U.S. has about a 2-week grace period, and then they will be bankrupt. So by mid-October, they'll be bankrupt. That's the end of that. I mean, completely and totally. So assemblies, no pressure here in the United States. Get ready, because here we go. Okay.
So
Oh,
can we take a step back on that? Because Kim just
Yeah.
kind of dropped it. Now, we've been working on this the entire summer. And you're saying the Bureau of Reclamation, who has not been paid to block, they were told to block us, but they never got paid. So they've set up, they poured cement basically into the gears to stop the dams from opening, to force a famine. They were willing to do that, but then they didn't get paid. So now they're willing to kind of turn a blind eye so that we can open these dams for the farmers.
Yep.
That is a monumental breakthrough. That's why I jumped to Kelly. I was hoping he was on video.
Homeland Security got the notification today that they won't bother them or interfere with anything they're doing in regards to opening any of our irrigation canals.
Fantastic.
You know, that I'm so glad you said that. We were getting ready to submit the order to legally change them to Homeland of Insecurity. So I'm glad that you told me that.
I know.
Good job, Homeland Security.
And we'll see who calls who and who does what to who or whatever. We do have a lot of opposition for the last couple of days from the Jason Society, and also known as the Pilgrim Society here in the United States. They're very unhappy that they're about to lose their entire political influence. And the people that keep promising them and their people money and contracts are not paying either. So they've chosen to give us resistance, thinking it's our fault, and that we're going to play along with what they're doing. Well, no, really. We're okay. You know, we're doing just fine. We found the ARCHONS and are busy right now as we speak. The system's still running on disinfecting them from the financial system as well, and the telecommunications system and everything else your black screen had attached to. So we're good. You know, you can make phone calls and call people and tell people you don't like us and that I'm a bad person and whatever else you're doing. And that's totally okay. We don't like you either. So it works, right? So we're good. Okay. So yeah, so that's the progress with the 50-50 offer this week. We are gaining some momentum with that. We have no problem fulfilling our promise. I do see that they are making progress. They've been pulling all kinds of identity pictures, or genealogy report. It's called Somewhere in the World. And that's when they take like you as a person, and then they see the people that you directly talk to, and then the people that those people talk to, and then the people that those people talk to, and so on and so forth, right? In case you don't know what that is. But they're trying to find out who's connected to the deep state and who's not. And they're doing a great job at getting these people on board with them, or perhaps moving on, you know, to source. You know, it's kind of, the Thule Society. I forgot about that this week too. So the Thule Society, right? The Thule Society, and in cooperation with the Habsburg family, are the ones that are driving the White House right now. So all of these information that you were getting about Biden and vaccine commercials and all of the, 500 people that watch the White House speak anymore. We found out who's actually giving them all orders, right? The Thule Society would have been over the SSP, which is now the SP, right? The Space Force, right? SF. So that's very interesting. And the Thule Society were also highly involved with this little machine over here and any eugenics program on the planet. Okay. Negative eugenics. Let's put it that way. So the good news is that Life Force and we gave them a 2-hour notice to turn around and stop with the narrative, right? Of course, nothing happened. Life Force enforcement was deployed. The operation was completed. I think it was late last night. So early this morning, my time. So that's good.
That's something I think is really amazing, because these shorter deadlines, I think it's really important to point out to both sides of this. A 2-hour deadline was given. So everyone should be prepared on the other side to pull out, because a 2-hour deadline, that's the first time I've ever heard you giving that kind of a deadline outside of, well, not the exact same time, but that kind of deadline. So I think that's very it's very telling of the time we're in. A 2-hour deadline to stop the narrative immediately, because they had that kind of sway, right? They could just make phone calls and be like, hey, put out a message that says this or that, right? They could have just stopped it. And that is a big problem for all these guys. They want to keep it going. If you would just stop, you could potentially completely redirect everything you're doing, your whole life.
Yeah.
Get a
Just so
shave
you
and a
know, it was
haircut,
about-
a real job, and you'll be on track. It'll be great.
It was about 2016, 2017. We uploaded the entire database of the Thule Society, including every program that they were involved in, including all their ancillary organizations, including the Jason Society, that they often give orders to as well. So just in case you're confused, anyone from the Jason Society that's following this, right? If we missed, we won't miss for long. Number one. Number two, you also have to understand, right, that we have your file. We have all your information. We can send it to everyone at any given moment in time. And there's no such thing as a private conversation on planet Earth, thanks to you people. So we got that. You think we wiped it out before we downloaded the database? Of course we didn't, right? So now we have all the information on all of you too. So it worked, I'm sorry to be this way. And sometimes, I am very focused on love and light and restoring the planet. But, and I apologize for the delay. I did do the interview with Max. It'll be out, I think, tomorrow. So you'll understand when you hear her describe what these people do, right? Who they really are. Everybody thinks they just manipulate politics and do things like that. No, they're experimenting on children. They're kidnapping our children. They're still experimenting on our children in a place that Trump stood and gave a speech at a tent close to the border of the United States. They're taking those kids. So it just went from bad to worse. We have another, the Holocaust isn't just for Jewish people anymore. It's for all of us. And this is what's going on. And this is a war. Do we want to live? I think we do, right? We want to restore this planet. We want to make it a better place for our kids and our grandkids or our cousins, or if you don't have kids of your own. I mean, it's really up to us. It's time. We need to do this. And you guys are phenomenal. We've got Source Force working to protect us all the time. I'm so happy and thankful for Source Force. All of you that, do your own meditations and work within the light and get the information directly from source, take the guidance and move on it. I'm so thankful. Now, it doesn't take, everybody's looking for an army. You are an army. You're loyal to source, the creator, not to me. You're loyal to the creator. You want to get this done. You're loyal to your families, our kids, right? We will get this done for them. So, nobody is ineffective in this war. We're all just doing our part. And I just happen to have a big system that helps me, and source, of course, also, because, the song that we played at the beginning of this was Let Your Love Flow, right?
Yeah.
So I went to source. I was like, I'm having such a hard time clearing the pathway to get the money through, to do the things. And what do I need to do? And all of a sudden I get this song, right? I had no idea. I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? I do love it. I don't know what you want. And so it turned out that our enemy and the parasite, right, is actually what will actually kill the parasite and stop the parasite from functioning is the love frequency. So it made sense, right? not immediately, but it took a few days to get it. So yeah, so that connection is so important in doing this job and your jobs too, right? So yeah, but that was basically what happened since last Friday. It hasn't stopped. It's been crazy. Mr. Rao.
That is that's the best report I've heard. I'm thrilled about that. It's funny when you're right next to this and hearing it. I even love to hear the recaps, so because it's really amazing. So, Mrs. Possible, is that it? Because I'm going to wrap it up. Because I actually have a great little piece that goes with what you talked about love.
All right, let's hear it. Let's let it roll. Let your love flow, Tank.
Tank, before you do that, can you just let them know about UNN, where to find us real briefly?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
put that up.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
So for everybody out there, just as a side note, it's very important. If you have not subscribed to UnitedNetwork.news, this is very important. This is actually going to be an initiative to expand the truth in media, something that'll be part of the Global Peace and Restoration Consortium. And right now, the UnitedNetwork.news is the official news channel for the Global Peace and Restoration Consortium, but it won't be limited to that. In the future, we hope that others will follow suit and do the same thing and expand the truth in media, and we'll set a new standard, right? And then
Oh, you can't even see that.
I got you. So UnitedNet.plus, right? So this is for all the entertainment, which all the other channels that are out there, all the things that are out there. The best product on the market, literally the best product on the market for that type of thing is UnitedNet.plus. You download it to your computer, to your Android, and you can actually download it to, there's all the updates. This is why, because it's really an amazing product. You download it to Apple, and then it's like another $2 to add the feature so you can make it the updated version. And it's amazing. We highly recommend it. And this is very helpful to keep the business running until we fund fully. It's also very helpful because anytime we take away something from the other side is always good. We're always trying to do that. It always helps the mission, right? So this is very helpful. I need something like this. Is what I was trying to do for Kim a minute ago, but it was great. Wasn't expecting
Like
that.
a vowel.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
For those of us old enough to remember this.
All right. So, folks, I'm going to tell you a little parable, right? So this is
yeah. Hey, we've got the whole sports package on United Net.plus. Yep.
That means so for a football
Got
fan,
all of it, college, everything, from anywhere in the world, actually. Yep.
every game that's anywhere for football. And football, I know is a big one. Like people spend like $100 something a month to get the football package. You can actually get every game on United Network Plus for $15 a month and everything else. So, and
Okay.
my kids have approved it officially. So it's good.
And they'll tell you.
So in the vein of love, you know what? I've talked about this many times. You guys have probably heard this, but I'm a big believer that all of humanity and our relationship with God, our source or the universe, is very much a love story, right? So, where I come from, there's primary attributes that define God, right? And the way that this works is there's these qualities. And so when God was in shape and form up above the sun, moon, and stars, right? And he's looking down at earth and he looks down and he says, it's a mess down there, right? So all the attributes that make up God, they look down and it's chaos. So intelligence goes, I'm far too intelligent to go down to earth. It's too much. Too much. And knowledge says, look, I just know better. And wisdom goes, man, I am far too wise. I am the judicious application of knowledge. So if knowledge isn't going, I'm not going either, right? And justice looks down and goes, it's just not fair to make me go. I didn't do anything wrong. And then love stepped up. And love said, I'll go. So love came down. And because love came down into the earth, that's how we know that God is real in us. Because love came down within us. And because love came down, every other attribute that God had, all the intelligence, the wisdom, the beauty, the knowledge, the foundation, the strength, all of that came down and got into us too. So in case you have a moment of doubt or fear coming up, right, and you start to think about that this is too hard, we can't do this, I want you to remember that the complete attributable makeup, meaning all the character, all the entire likeness and image of God is right in you. Now, even if you don't know before, now you should have a better connection with that. And so remember, we now have the cure. There's no excuse at this point. There's no reason not to win. The answer to all of this is love. So please take the time today, this weekend, and you know what? Go love on your kids, go love on your family, go make peace with somebody you used to be best friends with and you think you're mad at. Go find peace with that. Find a way to
love yourself.
Love yourself.
With this weekend.
Yep. Love yourself. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. And by the way, you can't take care of anybody if you don't take care of yourself. That's a fact. Yeah. So everybody, this is possible. And team, everybody, thank you so much for all that you're doing. I know that is also an act of love. So let's go change the world. Have a great night.
Absolutely.